I don't know why you guys like these videos so much, but apparently you do, because in episode number 1 where we talked about my favorite players from every ball club in 2020, it popped off and you guys really liked it. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this into a little mini series. Episode 2 is going to be today, where we talk about my favorite players from every single position of all time. Let me know your answers in the comment section down below, as well as subscribe, because we're getting closer to 200K before opening day, whenever that happens. But if you guys want to see a part 3, leave a like. We could talk about my least favorite players from every single ball club. I don't know if there is one, but we could definitely try and make a video out of it. But for right now, we're going to focus on positions 1 through 9, talk about my favorite player over the course of Major League Baseball history. I mean, we could go with Barry Bonds, we could go with Satchel Paige, we could go with Johnny Bench. If they've played baseball, they're eligible to be on today's list. But we're going to start with the backstop position. My favorite catcher of all time is going to be Mr. Joe Mauer. And I think the biggest reason why is because he's been on multiple MLB The Show covers. He was in so many different commercials where the guy would say, "Well played, Mauer." So he was just really likable. And when he was at his peak, I mean, he might be the most talented catcher that we've ever seen in the history of baseball. He could hit 27 to 30 home runs. Occasionally, I think he had one year where he had 20 plus home runs, but that's when he won the MVP. He was a Gold Glover. He could steal you a couple bags. He wasn't the most, I mean, he was pretty athletic, but he wasn't the fastest guy on the diamond. Plus, he was a catcher, so you don't want your catcher trying to go for 25, 30 stolen bases. But I remember there was a stat that I heard about that in high school, his entire high school career, he struck out 4 times or something like that. So the dude, one of the most talented, probably if you're talking about the best overall talent at the catcher spot, Joe Mauer might be your number 1 guy. Now, I don't know if he's going to make the Hall of Fame, so you guys have to let me know down in the comment section. Do you think he's a Hall of Famer, or do you think that he's not? So Joe Mauer is going to be in my catcher spot. So now let's move along to someone that is in this room right now. Is it Babe Ruth? No, because you can't see him. My favorite first baseman of all time is Lou Gehrig. There's just something about the way that he played. I look at pictures of him and I just think this dude must have been an iron horse, and that was his nickname back in the day. He was always, I mean, he was just so reliable. He was going to hit you 30 to 40 home runs. He was going to have a 340 to 350 batting average. He played a great first base. I just really liked how he carried himself, and obviously it really sucked how his career kind of ended with the ALS. They call it Lou Gehrig's disease. So I think my pick, you could probably go with, I really like Albert Pujols. I really like Todd Helton. Todd Helton almost made this list because growing up, I really liked the Rockies, and there's also going to be a Rockies player on today's list. But yeah, I think for me, Lou Gehrig, considering how relevant he is to the game even today, and he played so long ago, I gotta go with Lou Gehrig. But Albert Pujols, Todd Helton, they were at a close second. And speaking of second, we're gonna talk about my favorite second baseman of all time. And growing up, I don't know why, I just didn't really like him. There was something about his face, it annoyed me. But as I got older and as I pushed aside my childish ways, I really started to like Dustin Pedroia. And the more that I looked at his stats, the more I realized that I was so naive and ignorant when I was young. I was just kind of a sheep, and I didn't like Dustin Pedroia because my classmates and my teammates didn't like him. But man, this dude was an absolute stud. I think he won Rookie of the Year. He's won an MVP. And for someone like myself, who is not the tallest guy, I'm 5'9" on a good day when I'm wearing the right shoes and my hair is up. Looking at Dustin Pedroia, I mean, he really kind of paved the way for smaller guys to feel confident that you don't have to be 6'3" or 6'2", because I think the average height for all of Major League Baseball is 6'1" or 6'2". So when you have Dustin Pedroia doing huge things on the biggest level, getting paid $15-20 million, winning championships, Gold Gloves, MVPs, I think that he was the heart and soul of the Boston Red Sox, and I don't know if he's going to play any more games. I'm hoping that he can come back healthy, but to be honest, we might have seen the last of Pedroia, but he gets my pick for my favorite second baseman ever. Moving on over to the hot corner, third base. There are so many different players that I could choose from. Growing up, I think I really liked Casey Blake. There's also David Wright. There's Pablo Sandoval. Once upon a time, I was a big fan of him, but in my opinion, I think because my dad really liked him, I gotta go with George Brett. Just someone that if you needed a base hit, he could get you a base hit. He could have the occasional 450-foot home run. We all know that he cared greatly about baseball, considering when he got thrown out because of the Pine Tar incident, you guys know how crazy he went. But I just really like how reliable he was. I don't know if he won a Gold Glove or not. Maybe you guys can let me know in the comment section down below. But just super reliable, a Hall of Famer, just someone that played the game the right way. So George Brett, he is going to be my favorite third baseman of all time. And surprisingly, someone I almost put on this list, you guys might not like him, but back in the day, A-Rod, I kind of liked him. I mean, he was the villain, yeah, but he was entertaining. He was good. I know roids had a lot to do with that, but I loved watching A-Rod play. I told you guys that there would be a Rockies player on this list, and here he is. My favorite shortstop of all time. Is it Trevor Story? Nope, it is going to be the former superstar. He did retire last offseason, Troy Tulowitzki. This guy, I mean, he was a walking MVP when he was healthy. He for sure was the best fielding shortstop in baseball when he was in his prime. And on top of that, when he was healthy, he was also the best offensive shortstop. So honestly, if he would have had a healthy career, just like a lot of guys on this list that we'll talk about, so don't go anywhere, he would have been a Hall of Famer. So he's one of the guys, he's going to unfortunately fall in the category that had the Hall of Fame talent, but unfortunately, their body just could not hold up. So again, just watching Troy Tulowitzki play baseball made me want to play baseball. So I owe a lot of my success as a baseball YouTuber to a couple guys. Grady Sizemore, you guys know he's going to be on this list. But Troy Tulowitzki, he made me really like the game of baseball, just the way that he played. I loved it. So definitely miss him. Wish that he was back and healthy. Just like our next guy, Josh Hamilton. My goodness. I mean, aside from all the injuries, his mental game was not the best to start his career. You guys know he was drafted #1 out of high school, and then drugs and alcohol really got in the way and some interpersonal demons. But then we saw when he came back for the Reds, he almost won the Rookie of the Year, and then he goes to the Rangers, and the rest is history. I remember I was watching a First Take, or whatever the show was called on ESPN, when it was Skip Bayless and what's his name, Stephen A. Smith, and they were talking about the greatest or the most talented players of all time. Barry Bonds was brought up, Babe Ruth, Ken Griffey Jr., Willie Mays, and Josh Hamilton. Josh Hamilton was a 5-tool athlete. Honestly, he could have been a top 20 baseball player of all time if he never had those inner demons, or if he never had injuries, because he was a beast with the Rangers. Won an MVP, almost won the home run derby. I think everyone thinks that he won, even though Justin Morneau actually took it in Yankee Stadium. But man, when he went to the Angels, just they severely overpaid. He broke his wrist sliding into first base, and then it was all downhill from there. But yeah, you guys know Josh Hamilton, Grady Sizemore, who is going to be my favorite center fielder of all time. Those two guys, they kind of flip-flop as my favorite, but it's just honestly, the way that Josh Hamilton has been the last couple years, he's kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So growing up, yes, Josh Hamilton, but currently, he still makes the list, but he is taking a kind of a nosedive on my all-time players of all time. So you guys know, center field, that is pretty much a wash. I am wearing currently my Grady Sizemore jersey. I talk about him pretty often. I'm not obsessed, although a lot of people like to say that I am obsessed with Grady Sizemore, but I honestly, if I met him tomorrow, I'd probably cry my eyes out, because he made me love the game of baseball. I am passionate about this beautiful game because of this guy. Grady Sizemore literally paved the way for me to be, honestly, the guy and the man that I am today. So if I met him tomorrow, I would shake his hand. I would say, dude, a lot of my success in life is credited to you. I wish that he would have had a longer career, because I've done the stats. He would have been most comparable to Andre Dawson. Even Foolish Baseball on Twitter agrees with me. But from 2000 and whatever to 2000 and whatever, he was top 5 in WAR every single season. He won a couple Gold Gloves. He was in the home run derby, and he could also steal you 40 bags. So he was a walking 30-30 in the home run derby, a Gold Glover. He didn't have the best arm, so he was kind of a 4.5-star player. Just all-time great, and I wish Grady would have made it. He would have been a Hall of Famer, and man, makes me emotional, but we're not going to cry. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. My favorite right fielder of all time. Now, this one might be biased because, again, they're from Las Vegas, and I watched them growing up. Now, Bryce Harper, I've met the guy before. Everyone says that Bryce Harper is an a-hole, but when you meet him in person, completely different story. Off the diamond, one of the nicest guys ever. So I'd have to say Bryce Harper and Joey Gallo are tied neck and neck for my favorite right fielders of all time. Just because Joey Gallo, I gave up a home run to him in high school. I saw him get drafted. Then I actually met him in person. I met him in person a second time. We've had a couple different interviews. He's amazing in MLB The Show, so he's made my life as a creator a whole lot easier. So it's a toss-up. Bryce Harper, Joey Gallo, those are definitely neck and neck from my favorite right fielders ever. Designated hitter. This one is going to be tough because I don't know if I want to go with my Indians bias and choose Travis Hafner, or if I'm going Big Papi. But to be honest with you, Hafner and Grady Sizemore, they were my role models growing up. They were my biggest heroes. So for today's video, although I do think that obviously David Ortiz was better, Travis Hafner in his prime, before he got hit in the face with the fastball, that's kind of when everything went downhill with him as well. Injuries really played a part in the Indians' demise. But Travis Hafner, the dude, could hit 40 home runs. He always had a +300 .300 batting average. I think one year he almost had a 1,000 OPS. I don't remember exactly what year it was. Maybe it was 05 or something like that. But they actually put his card in last year's game, MLB The Show 19. Great. One of the best cards offensively in that game. So we have Travis Hafner as my favorite designated hitter. My favorite starting pitcher of all time, Cliff Lee. I even remember he went to the Mariners, and then he went to the Rangers, then he went to the Phillies. He was on a couple different teams over the course of 4 seasons. He just bounced around, but he won a Cy Young. He went 22-3. The year after, he was sent down because the Indians, they did not believe in him, so they said, go fix your stuff and then come back. He wins a Cy Young. He goes to the Phillies. He is absolutely dominant. I remember this catch. I'm going to go ahead and roll it right now. I remember watching this live and thinking, dude, Cliff Lee is that guy. He is so nonchalant, and it's so natural. He didn't walk anyone. He struck out a good amount of guys. Bryce Harper picked him as his favorite pitcher of all time. So that's honest. I saw that. I was like, dude, Bryce Harper is the man. And then last but not least, my favorite relief pitcher of all time. Now, James Karinchak, he's a rookie for the Cleveland Indians. He is quickly becoming my favorite of all time. He's so nasty, and just the way that he plays, he's crazy. But Brian Wilson, the beard, I remember it was a full movement. He really carried the game of baseball on his back. There was a point where honestly, I thought he might have been the face of the league because the beard was there. He was really good. He was winning championships. So Brian Wilson, he is going to round out today's video. So just to recap, my favorite catcher, Joe Mauer. My favorite first baseman, Lou Gehrig. Then we have Dustin Pedroia at second, George Brett as my third baseman, Troy Tulowitzki at shortstop, Josh Hamilton, Grady Sizemore, Bryce Harper, and Joey Gallo. Those guys are all in my top 3 or maybe tied for my favorite outfielders. Starting pitcher is Cliff Lee. I skipped Travis Hafner. He is my favorite designated hitter of all time. And then last but not least, my go-to guy out the pen is Brian Fear the Beard Wilson. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you want to see a part 3 where we talk about my least favorite players, please let me know in the comment section down below, as well as leave a like on the video, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out.